bro. So I gotta drop a heavy spoiler warning, and here's why I don't mind spoiling it for Eduardo.
Okay.
He's never gonna get the chance to watch this, uh, because his wife just is not into this kind of film, and while we're under isolation, it's not like he's watching a lot of TV without his wife in the room. So it's not gonna matter. But for anybody who really, really wants to take in the full effect of this movie, you've got to come into it blind. Don't watch a trailer. Don't look up anything. Just, it's on Amazon Prime. It's free. Bro, this is like a sleeper hit waiting to pop. It's
Okay.
a thriller movie, mostly about a lady who cheated on her husband, and they're just kind of having some family issues. When slowly, basically anything past here, if you don't want spoilers, this is where you stop. So spoiler. Eduardo, say spoiler.
Spoiler.
Spoiler. We've said it enough. So slowly, some weird things start to happen inside the house. And you start to think, okay, are we a haunted house or is someone inside the house?
Okay.
Up to the point where you definitely see shit go down and someone is definitely inside their house. But here's one of the first big twists. At that point, the movie drops back in time about a week. And it starts taking place from some found footage kind of cinematography
Oh, interesting.
of two kids who are doing this thing called frogging. And it's basically these people who go and sneak into rich people's houses and live off of them for a few days before sneaking back out. So they show up, they sleep in like in an attic crawl space or something, they eat some of your food, and then they fuck off. But while you're not home, they enjoy your pool and they do stuff. And slowly one of the people starts to look really kind of disturbed, like he's going to do
Okay.
something to hurt the family in this house. And so you go, okay, this is the motherfucker in the house, but there's two of them. And he has this girl with him who's sort of the conscience of the two. So what happens to her? So now your narrative shifts. At first, it's like, oh no, we're worried about this family. Now we're worried about this girl. So let's drop back a little bit. The family, the whole time, the dad who got cheated on is also a cop, and he's looking into the disappearance of these kids. These kids have been getting kidnapped and killed for a few years, and the killer stopped, and now he's started again. And when it comes to these people breaking into the house, the dude starts seeming a little disturbed and a little like he doesn't give a shit. And so we're like, fuck, this is the dude. Now I'm going to drop the biggest spoiler. If you've been listening, you're like, I don't care, and now you're kind of intrigued, here's your second chance to get the fuck out. Because this movie flipped on me so many times. Like, me and my wife are pretty good at looking at a movie and going, this is what's going to happen, and being 100% right. We flipped 3 times in this movie.
Okay.
So, what you find out, the dad who got cheated on and you've been feeling bad for this whole movie, who is the cop who is working the case to catch the guy who's kidnapping these kids, is the fucking guy kidnapping and torturing and murdering these kids. And the dude who is frogging in his house and living in there is one of the kids who he kidnapped who got away and has now broken into this fucking dude's house to
Oh.
get back at him and his family and fuck this dude's day up for what he did to him.
Wow. So well deserved is what it sounds like.
And like so well paced. Like really, the movie starts off at its most boring. When it's doing its setup, you're like, it's about a fucking family. And they do like they're setting you up, right? They're doing all of these like classic horror camera tricks, stuff popping up behind mirrors or like zooming in quick and something popping out, and it's nothing. It's nothing. But then you get the story and you go, okay, well, it's something, but there's something to the something.
I'm glad this
And then you get this hard twist.
dude. I'm glad this thing has multiple levels because that big reveal you described, there was a video game that did that. The guys who did Indigo Prophecy. Do you remember Indigo Prophecy?
Oh yeah, Indigo Prophecy was great.
Yeah.
Are they the same guys who did Quantum?
No,
Something?
they're. I don't think so. So, Indigo Prophecy. I'm trying to remember. It was supposed to be the video game that really. It was like QuickTime events the whole time. I'm trying to remember. I think it's the name of the game is developers Quantic Dream. Oh, are they also? Maybe I'm wrong here. They could also be the developers for Quantum Break. Let's see. Have they done? No. Okay. So the name of the movie is Heavy Rain. The name of the show is Heavy Rain. But this is the same company that did Beyond Two Souls and Detroit Become Human, which I heard was good, but I never really played. But anyways, in Heavy Rain, part of the plot, and spoilers, if you haven't played it at this point, you probably not. But what ends up happening is you play as these different characters, and you play about of this girl that's being assaulted, and you're solving a murder. And it's been a while since I played it. Just trying to make sure that I'm not completely messing that up. But what ends up happening is you get to play as this detective or private investigator who, in the beginning, you start really looking into the kid's disappearance and murder. And it's kind of interesting because it was like full QuickTime events and full everything you needed to do.
That company's the only company who can do gameplay based around QuickTime events and not have it seem shitty.
Yeah.
They know how to use QuickTime events.
And it's Quantic Dream, so like I said before, they didn't do Quantum Break. They did Detroit Become Human. That's the big one.
Oh, okay. I have Quantum Break and I still haven't fucking played it.
Yeah, I have played part of it. I had to stop. I had to take a break because it's so close to being really good that it hurts. Do you know what I mean? Like, they had some really good mechanics and the story is compelling, but it just doesn't pass that threshold. It's like Mass Effect 2 to your Mass Effect 1, I would say.
Oof, man.
Where
that's a harsh critique.
but you know what I'm saying, right? Like,
yep.
It's good. The story was still there, and but it doesn't push it over the edge, so it just feels like it's wasted. But anyway, so Heavy Rain, you end up finding out that the guy that you played for in a little bit in the first one was the killer, and it was the detective that was the killer. And I just went on a 4-minute fucking rabbit hole describing why thematically it was similar.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, no, I had that game and didn't finish it, and I feel bad. I should have liked it more than I did, and I just didn't. I need to give it another shot. But no, I see you. It's free. It's on Amazon Prime. And like, seriously, even having spoiled it, I still think you can have some fun with this movie. It's just so well shot and so well assembled. I really look forward to giving it a second watch to try and see if maybe there were more hints that I just didn't pick up on, or if they really played this straight and like hand led you down this path. So well done. Helen Hunt's in it. Helen Hunt, you really think it's about her, and then it turns out she's just a character in the story. You know what I mean? It's not really so good. So good.
Yeah. I might check it out, but this is one of those ones that I probably won't get to.
Yeah, I know your situation is rough because your wife is just not down with like thriller horror stuff.
Interesting, because lately she's been on a kick with this particular director. I don't want to mess up his name, but he's the one who directed Parasite. Jun
Bong Ho, I think that's
so.
Without looking it up in front of me.
Exactly, I really didn't want to mess it up. But
yeah.
Anyways, so he did a bunch of movies, and one of them was Train to Busan, I believe.
Yeah, Bong Joon Ho.
And she actually liked that, so she's starting to branch out a little bit.
It's like a sequel, right?
Yeah, that's how I found out about the first one. I think we talked about it here. that it's getting a sequel.
Train to Busan
Busan.
was. It is not him. It is
Oh, it's
actually
not.
Jusuk Park and Sang Ho Yun.
Oh, interesting. Then I wonder why she ended up seeing it because they were on this kick. Then I was way off. But it's a zombie movie ish, so there you go.
Well,
She
maybe
was
you can
into it.
use this to kind of push that envelope. Start with something a little smaller, and work in. I will say when I first met my wife, albeit it was a while ago, but
Yeah,
was
she
not
was
as
15, right?
okay. But like we were both 16. Don't try and make that sound
No,
creepy.
that's the point. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a we.
That
I'm just
I
saying
was
it
backing you
wasn't
up,
like I
dude.
was in my 30s and she would no. Like we were both that
Yeah,
age.
she was really young, like 6 months ago.
So she was not really as into the horror stuff. Where now, kind of watching the horror movies with me and me being the film geek that I am. So, one part being able to go, oh, you see, when the director is setting up something like this and like this, that means he's going to come back and he's going to do this later. Or even going into special effects and going, oh, you see how they did this? Well, that means that what they did is this, and they put this here, and then this is the part that's CG, but that's practical. And now she kind of watches horror movies completely analytically.
So you ruined them for her, therefore she can watch them.
No, I honestly feel like she enjoys them more because it was something to her that was just scary, and now it's kind of like it's a puzzle to be put together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's something to solve. It's something to break down and really look at the pieces of how they did it. And I don't know, like just her. I mean, she's an auditor. Her whole job is figuring out the pieces and how they fit together.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of actually helped her get into that genre a little bit more.
That's fair. And I mean, to be fair though, my wife, she's gotten a lot better with movies, but when we first got together, like even movies where it wasn't necessarily horror, where it was thriller, like
the one that got me with your wife, I will never forget this. You know where I'm going immediately. Your wife legitimately had issues with Hotel Transylvania.
There were I don't know if she had issues with it as a whole. I just think
She flat out said the movie was scary and she thought it was meant to be scary.
yeah, I think sometimes the movies get into her head. I think she thinks most about the concepts of monsters.
Well, right, I think the math was monsters are scary equals movie is scary.
Yeah, I think she's much better now, but because this was
that
was a while ago. That was when it first came out.
There's been 2 sequels, so.
Yeah. But yeah, I know it's different strokes for different folks. There's certain types of movies that I just don't watch. I don't like schlock horror. It's not my thing. It doesn't scare me. I'm not into it.
I think schlock horror has its place. I wouldn't say I love schlock horror, but occasionally I see a schlock horror movie and I go, all right, buddy. I see what we're, especially when they lean into it. I think schlock horror is one of my favorite series is Evil Dead because
But
Evil
that's
Dead
different. That's
it
schlock
doesn't
comedy.
invent schlock horror, but it wasn't meant to be. The first Evil Dead was meant to be horror,
but it's also one of the least good ones.
Well, but by 2 and 3, they went, okay, we've tapped onto something. It just wasn't what we thought we tapped onto.
Yeah.
Let's lean into it. And I think leaning into it really is what separates schlock horror boys from schlock horror men. There's a way to use it and use it appropriately.
Well,
have you seen Pandemonium?
I have not.
Okay. I think, honestly, it's the only horror movie you could get away with watching with your wife because...
Is that the one from In Space?
No.
Okay.
It is a typical camp counselors being murdered by an unknown person killing camp counselors for revenge. It has Judge Reinhold in it. The dude from like Beverly Hills Cop and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So Judge Reinhold is in it. Even he will not admit he was in this movie. He says, no, that was just a guy who looks just like me. It wasn't me. Because it's so bad. And I don't think this is what they set out to do, but really, truly, what they did was make a perfect parody of cheesy 80s schlock horror to the point where, like, the girl who's obsessed with brushing her teeth is murdered by drowning in toothpaste foam when she's aggressively brushed. Like, I really don't understand
is this
how it wasn't
Wishmaster?
parody.
Because it sounds like Wishmaster.
Worse, bro. So much worse. They're like, one of the guys is killed when he's jumping on a trampoline, and the killer sets dynamite under the trampoline, and it shoots him up, and he sees into an airplane in waves before he falls to his death and dies.
Okay.
They say it was not meant to be a parody, and yet everything about it reads complete and total parody. Pandemonium. You have got to try this. There's no good effects. There's nothing believable. There are no good performances, and everything is so over the top. It's unfucking believable. And maybe I just have bad information, and somebody out there is going, "No, really, it was a parody." But nothing I've ever read has said parody film. Like, do you remember like Don't Be a Menace or Scary Movie?
Yes.
This literally feels like a
one of those
parody of schlocky 70s, 80s
Dude,
horror.
Scary Movie 1 and 2 is where it's at. Once they went
I've been wanting to rewatch them.
Once they went the airplane route though, I just they lost me. Airplane has a special place in my heart. So does The Naked Gun and like a couple of these other ones. I just liked where it was. I didn't need that type of comedy. I feel like Scary Movie had its own type, and then unfortunately once Scary Movie 3 went, all the other parody movies that, because there were a superhero movie and
everybody
all that,
started doing it.
But they went with the wrong kind of comedy.
Well, and you know what's crazy though? The guys who did Airplane and Naked Gun started doing the Scary Movie movies, and they were the worst ones.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like
starting
somehow
at 3,
they forgot how to parody.
It was
Scary Movie 2 is not bad. It's the Wayans brothers still doing parody.
It's 1 and 2 are my favorite. That was my whole like that's exactly what I'm talking about. Because what they did was they took parody from the era when they were doing parody and try to bring it forward. Where what they should have done was do parody now. You know? Like,
yeah, they should. I honestly think it was too close. Had you done Scary Movies 1, 2, 3, 4 like 5-6 years apart, so you can really pick up on the new trends in horror?
Yeah.
Parody those, I think it would have been a much stronger series.
Well, yeah, and then by 3, I just felt like, I don't know, I felt like there was too much slapstick.
Yeah.
In it, and that is, of course, there was a lot of that in Airplane, but Airplane was a different time.
Well, and it was parodying a different kind of thing.
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah, it didn't work the same. It's really unfortunate that the guys who did Airplane kind of are going to go out on like that, and not for movies like Airplane and Kentucky Fried Movie and like these. That kind of humor is dead. Do you realize that? Like the Airplane and Kentucky Fried Movie,
not entirely.
Humor is gone.
Look at What We Do in the Shadows. It's the same concept.
It's not nearly as slapstick.
Definitely not nearly, but there's way more slapstick than in most comedy in those movies like that. Like,
I don't know. I feel like maybe if have you noticed horror is on this weird like uptick? Like horror's coming back. We have horror TV that's doing really well now.
Yeah.
I feel like slapstick really could, because once you get horror, you get into the violence aspect of things, and then it becomes funny. Like after a while, horror can only get so brutal and gruesome before it just becomes a parody of itself. Slapstick can come right after that. I think we could have slapstick coming up.
You got to do it right, though. If you're going to do slapstick, it's got to be... I don't know. It's got to be a very interesting take. You can't do what they've done before. What would you parody? Pitch a show right now.
Well, okay, hold on. I can't give you a plot for it, but I can tell you if you're going to do a modern horror parody, you can still get away with a Saw parody as long as it's not your focus. It's a little too played out to be your focus, but with the new Chris Rock one coming out, you can 100% do a new Saw parody. But what you really want to focus on, hit Purge, because Purge just did a couple seasons of a TV show, and the show is actually good. Hit the TV, do Haunting of Hill House, because Haunting of Hill House is coming back, and you can really ride that trope of how played out Hill House hauntings are.
Yeah.
American Horror Story is currently taking the piss out of things. You have what's the ones with the Annabelle doll? Did that come out of Conjuring? Is that
No,
what it
I'm pretty
was?
sure those are just called Annabelle, right?
But it's a spinoff.
Are they spin-offs? So I
They're a
think it would
spinoff.
be The Conjuring then.
So The Conjuring is another big name in horror right now. You can do The Conjuring along with it, and then I mean you also had like Scream Queens and like just there's lots of horror content that's popping up that's doing well. But what I like is it's not a horror resurgence like in the 80s where you just have 900 masked slasher movies. You know what I mean? Horror in general is just sort of having this like, hey, this is a real genre that needs to be respected and look what we can produce.
So I actually have an idea of what you would
Okay?
do.
Do it.
So I would do something like I would name it the Skeptic's Guide to America. And then
Okay.
you have a paranormal investigator who very clearly does not know how to investigate, but he still goes around and he investigates things like stuff you would see in The Conjuring or stuff that you would see in some of these modern horror tropes,
Okay.
and that is the plot. And you just like you can either focus on one of them wholesale or you can do little like
You know, even tagging onto that, I bet you could refine that even more and call it an anthology series about like detective cases.
yeah.
It's different guys working different, you know, or even like journalists or whatever you want to do, but you could totally do it anthology series style where they're totally contained parody instances.
Well, and then you can do it where so here make it this. Make it a Torchwood like agency, but that is just an inept part of the government that it's so buried in like the black budget that they don't know how to defund it.
Yeah, or even like they don't even know how to spend it at this point.
Yeah.
You can't do anything because then that shows up on the books. They're so secretive they can't even do anything.
Yeah, so but you make it like an agency, so the anthology is really different agents handling different cases, and you can even start parodying some of the plot lines that you see in like Hellboy or some of these like modern. Yeah, see,
I like this.
We should write this. We should do this.
Okay, officially erase that from your memories because we're gonna do this.
But that's probably what I do. You see, that's magic. Magic just happened. And
All right, that's the time, man. Play
that's
us
the time. That brings us up to the end. We left you with a little magic. Don't steal it. Nobody listens to us.
Nobody listens to us.
Anyways, check us out on Mondays, 7 to 8 Pacific, while we are still living. Ooh, dark. Also, check us out Tuesdays from 7 to 9 on twitch.tv/Metagame Network. Bias Bros comes out every other Thursday. Check that out on iTunes. It's where Jay and Bonsai discuss way more movie specific things. Usually we talk a lot more video games.
We start off being really pretentious, really not pretentious, really like. No, I guess we start off being really pretentious, and then it just evolves into two idiots babbling. So
yeah, so basically it's like anytime we all hang out, the booze starts flowing and the idiocy as well with it. All right, and on that note, final words, Bonsai.
No, seriously, I don't even have a joke. Like, I see you. You've got to check out this movie.
And I promise we're going to talk about Borderlands now that I played it more.
Yeah, and I'll have done the DLC, or some of it at least, by next time.
Yeah, there's two big ones. So,
you don't think I can do it in a weekend?
Not if you actually do them.
Okay. I like that. That's good news.
I haven't even finished the main story yet because I'm doing the sides. I'm going back and collecting the symbols and all that.
Oh, you go way out of order.
I'm not doing 100%, but I wanna do all side missions except the fucking racing delivery bullshit.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of those either.
I'm not doing those.
There's no cross-platform, is there?
There is.
Is there?
Well, I don't know about cross-platform, but there's cross-play. So Epic people can play with Steam. I don't know if PS4 or whatnot can play with us. It might be how Destiny's doing it now, whereas as long as you have the game in both places, you can just bring your characters over, but you have to like rebuy the game.
Nothing is confirmed, but supposedly it might be a thing.
Okay, and on that note, Bye.
Bye.